Our story begins with some guys in a park where they are recording a live from their phone on the Medub platform. One of them tells the camera that they had just seen a huge insect in the bushes. When they try to enter, the other guy tells his friend to wait, and a huge black insect comes out and makes the transmission is cut. In Kangwon Province University, a group of guys are watching the video. One of them has a black shirt and is sitting on top of the screen without saying anything. Another one of them has a gray cap and an orange shirt. This guy tells the others that half of the things in Medub are fake. He asks the guy in front of him when he has seen an insect that big in real life and not in a webcomic. The guy has a green plaid shirt and glasses. He replies that that insect looks just as big as a human. The guy with the hat laughs and tells him that it would be cool a human with insect wings. It would be like a mutant superhero from action movies, and asks him if it wouldn't be cool. The boy stops talking when someone grabs his phone. He turns to see who did it and sees a green-eyed guy in a jean jacket. It was his friend Suchin. Suchin asks them what they think is so cool about a pair of insect wings, as they look creepy to him. Suchin tells them to forget about that for a second. He tells them that some girls want to go for a drink with them that night, and if it's okay with them. His friend with the hat tells him that this is the second night in a row, and that he still has a hangover. The guy in the black shirt laughs at that and tells him that he is a Romeo. The guy with glasses tells Suchin that they are only interested in him anyway. Suchin tells them that they are not interested, and the boy with the cap interrupts him that they had never said such a thing. He stands up from his seat and hugs him. The boy with glasses and the one with the black shirt follow his steps, but they give Suchin a little bow as a sign of respect and tell him that it would be an honor to escort him. Suchin is a very popular guy in college. He has over 5,000 followers on Instagram, and his grades are practically perfect. He gets invited to all the parties and social events in college. Suchin thinks that if you talk about the social food chain, you could say that he is the reigning king. It may be a bit immature to talk about popularity in college, but like most animals, humans are social creatures living in groups. Just as lions gather in packs and ants form colonies, all societies have one thing in common, and that is that there is always a hierarchy in one form or another. In college, most students tend to follow and admire a privileged few. Those students for Suchin are considered the predators within society. Suchin has the privilege of enjoying university life from the top of the social food chain and does not plan to do anything to take it away from them. As they are leaving the college, the black-shirted boy asks Suchin if he thinks it is a good idea to have drinks with other girls. He asks him what he means, and his friend tells him that he knows what he means. He tells him to look to the side of the wax and sees a girl shouting her name. She has pink hair and a black skirt. When Suchin sees her, it is Mihui. She approaches him and asks him if he is going to the dining hall. His friend in black shirt asks him the same question in a sarcastic way, and the boy in the cap tells him in a low voice that they are not even officially dating yet, besides telling him inopportune. The black shirt guy asks Mihui if she would come with them to have a drink with them later, and the cap guy tells her that Suchin will go with them. She goes along with the plan, and the black shirt guy laughs, telling her that he knew they could count on her. Mihui runs to hug Suchin, but a stabbing pain appears on his back. He quickly moves away and scares the girl. One of his friends asks him what is wrong, and he apologizes. He tells them that he is not feeling very well and that he will go home. He starts walking fast, leaving his friends astonished. He in black shirt asks if he will really leave. Just like that, the guy with glasses tells him that it would not be the first time, and the one with the cap tells him that was strange. Suchin tells them that he stayed up until 5 a.m. drinking with the wrestling students. One of his friends asks if there is a wrestling major at the university, but Suchin ignores them. They think he is acting weird and wonder what bug must have bitten him. As he walks, Suchin thinks that it was silly to say something about some wrestling students and that he is running out of excuses. He sees a blonde boy with a mask and thinks that they both look alike. That boy was different when he started the semester. They said he was very sociable, but now he was very lonely. That boy was wrapped up in his inferiority complex. People described his major insecurity. It was said that the boy had drunk too much at a party and got hives from a strange allergic reaction to alcohol. Suchin thinks that maybe it was the humiliation or the disgusted looks on everyone's faces that made him run away. The boy had lost all his self-esteem and became introverted. Suchin thinks that it was nothing of the other, as all humans have things they don't want others to discover. Revealing private details is risky because it means revealing their weaknesses. When Suchin arrives home, he takes off his jacket and shirt. On his torso he has a bandage, which he also takes off, and large dragonfly wings unfold from his back. Although he was popular in college, he also had his own insecurities. As he looks at himself in the mirror, he thinks about when he told his friends that he thought insect wings were creepy. He looks at them and tells them that there is nothing cool about them. He remembers that it all started because of a simple dragonfly. When he was in high school, he had poured insecticide in his room because a dragonfly had entered. But when that liquid fell, that insect suddenly turned into dust, and he inadvertently inhaled that dust. He fainted after vomiting for a while, and when he woke up the next morning, he had wings on his back. He wondered if people would think he was a monster or if they would kidnap him to do experiments. He was so afraid that he could not sleep at night, and since then he had done everything in his power to hide his wings. He didn't let anyone get close to him because he didn't want anyone to discover his secret. His life as a loner went smoothly for a while. No one knew about his wings and he could focus on getting into college, but it was still very difficult to get along because he was always alone, and that was eating him up inside. When it was time to start college, Sachin wanted a change. He went to a barber shop and changed his hairstyle, covered his wings with a bandage, which at first gave him some pain, but it was gradually becoming less painful. He entered college with high confidence, and people talked about it, that his hair and attire were fashionable, as well as that he was friendly and approachable. High self-esteem is the first step to success, and soon Sachin was not alone. He met Manhwa when she approached him and asked for his number. Sachin thinks that if those wings were to be seen, he would have to say goodbye to his life forever. He thinks that when he went to meet Manhwa, his wings started to hurt a lot. They always got in the way. It was like a reminder that they were part of him and he had to let them be. While Sachin sees himself in the mirror, he stretches, because if he doesn't open them often, the pain in his back becomes unbearable. That's why sometimes he would go to suddenly when he was with his friends. He couldn't let anyone know about his wings, especially Manhwa. He approaches the door when someone knocks and sees that it is Manhwa. They both give a scream and Sachin runs out to lock himself in the bathroom. Manhwa asks him about why he has no pants and he tells her that he does. Being in the bathroom, he thinks that maybe she did not see his wings and starts to get into a state of nervousness. He tries to ask her what she was doing there but changes the question to how she had entered. She tells him that the door was open and that the guys had told her that they could have a drink at his house. That's why she had a bag with some sweets and drinks. She tells him that they gave her their address and that they told her that they could meet there. Sachin tenses up and thinks his friends are bastards. Manhwa asks him if he had really left because he was feeling sick, and he tells her that it is not the first time he did that. All the time he lived running away, and sometimes he looked very bad, which worried her. She asks him if he is hiding something from her. He says no and thinks of what else to tell her, but nothing comes to mind. They are silent for a brief moment and Manhwa drops the bag on the floor. He tells her that they are both going to see a movie at that time and she was waiting there until he comes out. He tells her that he was sick and she tells him that she knows he is lying. She knows when he pretends to be sick, just like when he is stressed and tries not to let it show, when she realizes that he is hiding something from her. But he doesn't tell her anything, which makes her feel sad and a little hurt. She tells him if he remembers when he rescued her earlier in the year from the boy who kept flirting with her. He butted into the conversation the boy was trying to have with Manhwa and told her he was her boyfriend, so she should go far away. Sachin tells him if he remembers that day and Manhwa tells him she knew he wanted to flirt with her too. It was embarrassing and he didn't have to butt in the first place, but still she was grateful. She tells him that if he still liked her like that day, she wanted to butt into his life like he did into hers. She tells him that if he ever feels like he needs someone to give him a hand, she hopes they can get through it together. After hearing that, Sachin thanks him, but thinks the secret of wings couldn't go in there. She comes out of the bathroom in a black long-sleeve shirt and asks him if they will go see the movie then. As they walk through the streets, a boy in the distance observes them. His shadow is similar to the one that appeared to the boys filming for Medoob, and the boy says he smells a prey. Some guys stop Manhwa and Sachin, telling her that they are college students doing a school project. They ask Manhwa if she can fill out a short survey. Sachin tells her that the movie will start soon and thinks that that survey could be from a cult. She sees how Manhwa doesn't know how to say no, that her kindness is her greatest characteristic, and that she is very cute. Manhwa approaches and tells her that they gave her a paddle. While they are in the movie theater watching a horror movie, Sachin thinks about whether Manhwa and he will start dating. He sees how some soda drops on his shirt and she leaves the room to clean herself. Sachin wonders that if they start dating, he should tell her the truth, and what would be the possibility that Manhwa, after seeing his true form, would still treat him the same. He thinks that it is very risky and that he can't show someone what a monster he is. He comes out of his thoughts when the movie cuts out and the people in the theater are wondering what is going on. A movie theater worker enters the theater asking them to evacuate because there is an armed man inside the building. He asks them to leave through the front exits as fast as they can, and out of nowhere a man at the door appears sticking some kind of pincers where his arms are. The people start to run and Sachin thinks about where Manhwa is. The man sees Sachin and pulls out huge wings because he had found his prey. Sachin is scared to see him fall to the ground while trying to run. When he details his face, he sees that the man has big fangs. He associates him with a praying mantis, and the man asks Sachin if he had not met a human insect like him yet, because by his face it was as if he had seen a ghost. The man approaches and tells him that he is not the only one who used that insecticide, the disgusting jungle juice. The man tells him that when he became that thing after using that spray, he developed a special taste for certain aromas. Sachin gets up from the floor and runs down the hallway while he listens as the man asks him if he has any idea how tasty insects are for another insect. He runs after Sachin, and when he tries to jump on him, a bag hits his face. It is Mihui's bag. Sachin sees her and she tells him that she left the bathroom when everyone said they had to evacuate, but he was nowhere to be found. The insect man runs to attack her, saying that no one interrupted his dinner. Outside the building there were policemen and people recording. A girl with long black hair and cap tries to enter but is stopped by a guard. The girl tells him that there are people trapped and if they did not enter they should let her in. Suddenly a boy shouts to look up when a girl comes out of a window. Sachin goes into a crisis because he should open his wings and save Mihui, but he had never done it and there were people below watching. His fears begin to appear, but when he sees Mihui's eyes crying when he knows her fate, he throws himself to catch her. The man tells him that he is an idiot as no insect human can survive such a high fall, and wonders if that's why he made him chase him around just to see how they commit suicide together. Sachin doesn't concentrate on listening to him, if not whether he should open his wings or not. He can lose everything, but the right thing to do is to save Mihui because he thinks about what she told him than wanting to get into his life. So he generates strength in his wings, breaking his jacket so that they come out and he can fly to avoid the fall. The insect man is astonished by that, as well as the people who were outside the building recording. The girl with the cap who wanted to enter the building sees Sachin walking away from there with the girl for whom he had jumped from the window. In his ear he has a kind of earphone where he communicates that the boy opened his wings and asks what they will do now with him, if they should join and attack him or take him to his university. He takes off his cap and some antennas come out of his head. The man who had pushed Mihui was surprised to see that his prey jumped to save her and spread its wings. The boy was not only flying but also gliding, and that made him wonder what kind of insect could do that thing. There was only one insect that could fly too, and that was the dragonfly. He thinks that the jungle juice must have given him the DNA of that insect. He drools at the thought of the taste of dragonfly flesh, and a small shiver runs through him. It was the pain of his abstinence, but without realizing it he is attacked by the girl who wanted to enter the building. She asks him if he has any idea of the kind of trouble he just caused, hanging around the city and killing innocent people, not to mention the sighting videos people had uploaded to Medu. The girl asks him if he really thought they wouldn't come after him after all that, and tells him that the world cannot know of their existence, as they must remain invisible. Sachin sees how Miyui's head is bleeding and how cold she is. He tries to think why the man did such a thing and wonders where the nearest hospital is, and also thinks that, although he has never flown, it feels very natural. A month later, Sachin's group of friends are in the classroom talking about how they can't believe the semester is about to end. One boy comes up asking what they were watching and realizes Faith that it is the video of the movie theater incident. One of them that people say his wings look like dragonfly wings. Another one of them asks how can there be a person with real insect wings on his body, and someone says that's a monster and not a person. The guy in the cap tells the others that he can't stop watching those videos because that guy looked just like Sachin Jang. The rumor spread around campus like wildfire. From the moment the photos were posted on the internet, some of Sachin expected the police to come looking for him. But no one seemed to believe that the bug man was real. The news said it was a failed publicity stunt. There is a flashback 12 years ago where a group of children sing birthday to a boy named Junwoo. When they finish, the teacher asks them if they can sing birthday to Sachin, who was also having a birthday, and the children say that they were not his friends. The teacher tells them that they are all friends and should be nice, but a girl says that Sachin never brings birthday gifts for others. A girl tells her friend to shut up because her mom says that they should not talk about it because he was poor and had no parents. Back then and now, Sachin felt it was the same story. All he wanted was to have friends. But if you are defined as different from the rest, you can't enjoy the simple things in life. Sachin thinks about he doesn't know what he did to end up like this. He doesn't know why he is so different from the rest, and while walking through the university he slows down his walk when someone takes the length of his jacket. He turns around angry, and when he sees it is his former black shirt friend, he asks him what he wanted. He tells him that the guys wanted if he really had wings on his back and walks away. The guy in glasses asks him if he got a look and he says no, but he bets it's him. Sachin thinks about how they were acting like it was me freak show. He used to hang out with them all the time in college, but now he's vanished. People don't talk to him, and as he walks he thinks he should turn himself into the police alone again. In the bus, Sachin thinks that lately he had not opened his social networks. He intends to do so to see if that makes him feel better and sees that he lost almost all his followers. He went from 24 followers to 305. He thinks that it is rumored that the authorities are investigating those linked to the boy in the video, and assumes that people do not want to get into trouble. He thinks that he should not care how many of them leave him. He still has Mihui. She was in the hospital since the day he fainted but had awakened. They think of her, and that they will be able to be well. When he arrives at the hospital to see her, she is startled and asks him to stay away from her. He tries to tell her something, but some nurses grab him and tell him that he can't be there. He would tell her that he was Sachin and thought that she was kind as she cared for him like no one ever did before. But now she asks him to never go to see her again and tells him that he is a monster. He gets home and thinks about how it's all over because of his wings, tries to clip them, but doesn't, collapses to the floor to cry with the scissors, thinks about how he's too afraid of pain and how he can be so pathetic. As Sachin walks through the streets, he hears a group of guys talking about going to a bar later because they will all be there. He thinks about how humans gather in social groups. In every group of animals living together, there is always one individual that doesn't fit in. They are the ones that end up isolated from the rest of the group and usually end up all the same, dead. Sachin reaches the top floor of a tower and intends to jump, because if he dies finally his mind will be at peace. He can no longer bear the pain and decides to jump, but his wings come to life. He thinks that he cannot do it because they will prevent him from committing suicide and comes out of his thoughts when a girl being in the air with him appears and tells him that he would like to have wings like that. Was the girl who was on the outskirts of the tower wanting to enter. He thinks about who she is, how she appeared there, and how come she is clinging to the wall of the building with total tranquility. He comes out of his thoughts when she asks him if it is not a bit silly to fall down and die when he has a pair of wings. He asks her if she hates his wings so much and asks her if she would be interested in knowing a way to become a normal human again. The girl takes off her cap and shows some antennae. Sachin is amazed to hear about being a normal human again and is also amazed when he sees that she has antennae, which tells him that she is just like him. She asks him if they could go inside and talk somewhere warmer as she was very cold. They enter the building and Sachin corners her against a wall. He asks her how she can be normal again and she tells him that she doesn't know, but that he has to go by fulfilling some of the requirements. First, he must attend an interview at his university, and that a professor will explain everything to him once he is there. Sachin sees how the girl puts her cap back on and thinks about that college interview thing. The girl tells him that a campus shuttle is waiting for them outside the building and that he can meet the professor that day if he would get on the bus with her. She comes down the stairs and Sachin asks him why he should trust her, since a religious Mantis boy had tried to kill him. She tells him that if he doesn't believe her to go back to that throwing himself off a building thing, even though with the doesn't make sense. But if he decides to risk it and go with her, she promises him he won't be alone anymore, and it makes Sachin think of all the times he has felt left out. Sachin decides to accompany her and thinks he can't quite trust her, but he also has nowhere else to go. They get on the bus and she pulls out an insecticide. She asks him if he remembers it and he says yes. She tells him it's called jungle juice and it combines the DNA of an insect with the DNA of a human. She explains that for a while it was very popular because it could supposedly kill any insect with a single spray. But the problem was that the DNA of the insect that the person killed was mixed into the body of the nearest human. As happened with its wings or the arms of the praying mantis, a part of the human body is transformed into the characteristics of the insect. Sachin asks her why someone would manufacture such a bad product, and she tells him that if she was honest, she did not know. She tells him that it is not known which company manufactured the product or who is behind it all. The only thing that is known so far is the name of the distributor, which is bankrupt, and that a lot of random people were infected by this insecticide. Sachin starts searching the internet and asks the girl how could it be that no one has heard of such a conspiracy. As he could not find anything on the net, the girl tells him that they had erased all the evidence and says that they had already arrived. They get off in a tunnel and the boy asks her what was happening because they were in the middle of a tunnel. She asks him if he knows where they build these tunnels and she answers that it is through mountains. She presses some buttons that were on the wall and a metal door that was hidden opens. The girl tells Sachin that they do not like to be in sight of everyone and that they live in their own world, their own university city, the campus of Nest the Nest. A large college town among the mountains shows itself after passing the gate. Sachin can't believe that something so majestic is hidden behind a mountain and all the people he saw were like him. That jungle was unlike any other and Sachin realizes that if there was a way to be normal again, From a jail, the mantis man sees the arrival of Suchin. An officer asks him who told him he could stop to enjoy the scenery. With a saber to electrocute, the officer gives a current to the mantis man, and he is told that he will be connected to laboratory tools for the rest of his life. But the mantis man thinks about how fate made him meet again by the dragonfly. Suchin is amazed by everything he sees, how people fly and walk freely. There are even small children. The girl tells him that all the people who are there were infected by the jungle juice. She tells him that that place where they were was what they called university, but in truth it was a temple for all the people who were like them. She tells him that by being there he will no longer be alone. She also tells him that she should go to the department office for a second so he can go for a walk. She tells him that he is the only exchange student that semester, so that was his welcome. Suchin thinks that that place was like a university out of a fantasy novel. He could not believe that such a place existed in Korea. There were children and old people. It was incredible because they all had insect parts, just like him, and they were not afraid to show it. He passes by a park where he sees a man with white hair and beard, with a skull tattoo and no shirt, meditating. On his chest he had some kind of honey that had some small insects sticking to his torso. The man tells Suchin that he gives them honey and they in return give him proteins. He eats one. He says it is the cycle of life. Suchin is amazed and thinks that this guy is like Bear Grylls. He decides to keep walking, but the man grabs him by his jacket and asks him what kind of insect he is. He lifts up his jacket a little and sees his wings, which makes him get scared and quickly flies away from the lord. The man tells him that they are very flexible as they were folded under his clothes, and you can see that they are strong. He asks him why he hides them, and he has the memory of Manhwa calling him a monster. He tells the man that he just went there to take it off and walks away from him. The man tells him that he is a stupid kid and laughs a little. Suchin arrives at the university accompanied by the girl in the cap. She takes him to meet Professor Do-yeon-ma, a blue-eyed man with a mustache and a bit of a goatee. The man introduces himself and thanks the girl by calling her Hyojin. The professor tells his Suchin that he is glad to have him there, and that he has heard a lot about him in his reports. He takes a control and presses a button. He tells Suchin that he will teach him how to become a normal human again and shows him a recording of the graduation ceremony of the university. A student who is completely a fly gives a speech, and at the end he is given something called Cinderella's promise for being an honors student. Suchin asks what that is. He sees how he is given a cup with a content and thinks it might be champagne. He watches the fly take a sip and drop the cup, but suddenly he starts transforming into a girl. Suchin asks the professor what it was that the girl drank, and he replies that it was something they had found during the jungle juice research. They had used the same principle of the jungle juice to counteract its effect and were able to break down the DNA of the insect in the infected human body, which meant that this mixture could restore the human to its original normal state. After saying that, the professor takes out a bottle that has a little chain with a slipper and contains that mixture. The man tells him that they call it Cinderella. Suchin thinks that is what he needs and tells the professor to please give him one. The man tells him that he cannot do such a thing, and Suchin asks him why. The professor tells him that Cinderella is not easy to prepare because it is a condensed compound extract made from the jungle juice itself, so the supply is limited. The professor tells him that it is unfortunate, but it is impossible to get them all back to normal. However, if Suchin intends to do whatever it takes to get that mixture, he was to enroll in that university and become the best graduate in his department. Because according to the policy of that place, only the best and brightest students were the ones who could get the mixture. The professor asks him what he will do, and Suchin thinks, what kind of university is that? They leave the office and Hyojin asks Suchin what he will do. He tells her that if the top of the class gets the mix, he has no choice but to enroll. She tells him that he does have another option, and that is to live a pretty comfortable life there if he doesn't want to enroll in the classes, but he won't get the Ashen mix. She tells him that yes, he wants to enroll. Being top of the class is not easy, and he tells her that the good thing was that it has nothing to do with money. Suchin pulls out of his pockets a case and puts on his glasses while telling Hyojin that he can handle college and grades, because he asks her to help him do his transfer. A few hours later, in the conference building, several students are talking about registration, which class they are going to register for that semester and with which professor. For Suchin, the transfer process was easy, and when he observes all the people, he thinks that this university seems to be better than he expected. Now he was an exchange student of practical etymology, and he thinks about how kind Hyojin was with him in the whole process. He was nervous about the enrollment process because he did not know what to study, and she gave him a notebook after telling him that his requirements were already defined anyway. He only had to choose one of the 3 elective classes on the list and enroll. When he opened the notebook, he thought how strange those names were. The first class was Practical Combat for Insects with Professor Jun Jai. Underneath there was an advice that told him that no one had gotten a 10 in the last semester and there was no group work. The second class was Study of Genetically Modified Humans with Professor H. Wanwakong Yu. On the advice it was written that the grades were on a curve, it requires extensive specialized knowledge and lots of experiments. The third and last class was Understanding of Nest Protection with Professor Do-yeon Ma. In the board it was written that most papers were individual, with an absolute evaluation system. It was the most popular course and half of the course last semester had gotten 10s. As he read the last class, Suchin thought about what kind of things those people taught, and that Professor Ma was the one who had shown him the video. He had given him vibes of being a nice person, so Suchin decided to sign up for his class. As he walked to campus, he thought about how weird it was to have to go to campus personally to sign up for classes, as people used to do it through a cyber. Suddenly a boy and a scorpion girl start fist fighting. The girl tells the boy to get out of her way, and he tells her that she was the one who had thrown herself out of nowhere in his way. Suchin thinks about how she can't believe such fights happen in college. She comments on air that she guesses some people never learn, and Hyujin tells her that she shouldn't worry about them as she will soon get used to it. Hyujin separates them by grabbing each one by one end and throwing them away. She tells them that they just started the new semester and they are already fighting again. Hyujin Park was the president of the practical etymology class, and when Suchin finds out, he is astonished. Besides thinking that he will study with some beasts. They arrive at the computer lab 10 minutes before registration closes. As he sits at the computer, he hears how the guys who were fighting with each other are insulting each other. He thinks that he may never have a normal college experience again. He concentrates on registering and thinks that being smart wasn't everything, especially if he has a lousy schedule or misses all the good classes. Somewhere in the university, to Professor Ma's office enters Professor Jun Jai, which was the shirtless man who was in the park eating bugs. Professor Jun Jai asks Professor Ma if it was really true that they had a new exchange student. He says yes, and that his name is Suchin Jang. Professor Ma tells him that he heard that he had met him before and asks him what his impression was. If he thinks he made it because after all it was his first time in enrollment. Professor Jun Jai laughs and tells him that he better not even talk about it. Suddenly in the university lab, the notification comes that registration has started, and Suchin sees all the students flying out of the windows. He asks them where they are going and what's going on with the registration. While in Professor Ma's office, Professor Jun Jai tells him that with the way things are going at the university, they should use their survival tactics and seize the opportunity before the others, because after all, only the strong survive. While Suchin wonders what is going on with the enrollments and the kids who flew out, a b-boy enters the room asking him if he was the exchange student, and that no one had time to explain to him how things work. So he offers to do it and tells him that he must find the professor. He tells him that the inscriptions there are different from the other universities, because the professors were hidden in the mountains and the student had to find them to be able to register in the course. The professors give a USB drive to the first 16 students that find them, and it is connected in the laptop of the laboratory where the inscription began. Suchin comments to the boy that he was lost, and he asks him what class he decided to enroll in. Suchin tells him Professor Ma's class and asks him if he was not the one who gave the easiest high grades in the whole university, as his goal was to become the honor student in his class. The b-boy tells him that it will be difficult but admires his determination. He says goodbye, telling him that he should hurry to find his professor, and that he wished him good luck. Suchin thanks him and thinks how kind that boy was. Suchin arrives at Pointa, which is where Professor Ma is. He is sitting in a chair drinking tea while reading, and next to him there is a table with bottles of water and cookies. Suchin falls on the ground after not being able to land well as he was flying at full speed. He thinks about how there is a lot of competition to enroll in the best teacher's course, but since they all follow the same direction, it was obvious where to go. The teacher asks him if that is what he thought and tells him that a maneuver to overcome the disadvantage of starting later than the rest was to use the dragonfly's fast flying ability, which was the best strategy. The professor gets up from his chair and gives him the last flash drive he has. He tells him that the only thing he has to do is to go back to the laptop in the lab and connect it, for that he should not lose it. Suchin tells him that he will not do it and leaves. But just a few students arrive, and the professor tells them that he had already delivered all the USB for understanding the protection of the nest. The professor takes out his phone and presses a button saying that now the real battle has begun. A message arrives to Suchin's phone. It was from Professor Ma, and it set objectives that have the USPs for understanding the nest protection. There were photos of several students, and among those was one of his. He wonders what that is about, and out of nowhere a tree falls next to him next to a boy. It was a long-horned cerambicide. Sachin runs away and asks him what is going on, but a spider whip boy appears telling him to give him the USB. That spider hunts its prey with whip hands that come out of its shoulders, but more students begin to appear to take the USB from Sachin. He gets what it's all about and flies out of there. He wonders what kind of sick and twisted inscription is that. As he goes back, he hears someone yelling at him to get into the hole in the tree, and when he sees who it is the B-boy. He gets into the hole and listens as the others slowly move away. Sachin thanks him and tells him how great it was to have met someone like him. The boy tells him that he is not someone good but intelligent. He gives Sachin a small blow and sticks a kind of pincer in his forehead that makes him feel paralyzed. It was the sting of the honeybee, which releases a small amount of poison but powerful. The boy takes the flash drive out of his hand and tells him that he will not be able to move for a while. He asks Sachin if he really thought he wanted to help him and tells him that they are all his rivals. He asks him if they did not explain to him the real purpose of the enrollments, and as Sachin cannot speak, the boy tells him that they force them to compete with each other. Only the strongest are the ones who survive. He walks away saying that he will put that USB to good use and that he will have to try harder next year. But still, a student like him will never be an honor student. The boy spreads his wings and flies away. Sachin removes the sting and thinks that if he doesn't get the flash drive, he won't be an honors student. He won't be able to get the mixture and he won't be a normal person again, which makes him angry, and he flies out of the hole super fast to catch up with the boy. The B-boy sees him and asks him if his survival instincts were already awakening. He tells him that the poison will make him slow as a turtle and that it is better not to waste his energy. After a skill of the dragonfly, Sachin manages to know where the B-boy is trying to reach. Dragonflies are masters of the hunt. They have a 95% chance of catching their targets, and the secret is in their eyes. Their compound eyes contain thousands of honeycomb-shaped lenses. They can detect even the smallest movements with a vision of almost 360. With such an extraordinary sight, dragonflies can analyze and predict the movements of their prey. For the first time in his life, Sachin felt a stinging need to catch someone and recognized the honeybee as his prey. He manages to get close to it after deciphering its movements and fists it. The best thing about the dragonfly's compound eyes is that they never lose sight of their prey. Huiji is in the lab putting the flash drive in the laptop. A notification appears that her course enrollment is over. She thinks it is over, but she still has a couple of hours until the enrollment ends. The boy she had separated in a fight asks her if she thinks the boy from the exchange will make it, because everyone there would do anything to have the place in Professor Ma's course, and if the boy does not make it, he should ask for an automatic leave of absence if he does not make it in time. After beating up the B-boy, he drops the flash drive, and when Sachin tries to grab it, another person is already doing it. It is a girl who runs away quickly. When Sachin goes to chase her, he realizes that the B-boy is still falling and could die from such a high fall. He thinks about if he really fainted from a single punch, and also thinks about the girl who escaped with his USB. He thinks about letting the boy die for attacking him and chasing the girl. But before the B-boy touches the ground, Sachin grabs him because letting him die would have been inhuman. He holds him with one arm and goes in search of the girl who stole his pen drive. Sachin leaves the boy on the branch of a tree and leaves in search of the girl, but falls to the ground for a moment and thinks that probably the bee's poison is still in his body. Being on the ground, he trembles and thinks about everyone attacking each other for a stupid inscription. He thinks about getting up, but manages to faint. At that moment, Professor Junjai appears eating some sweets from a bag, who for Sachin is the bearded man from the park. He tells him that he is pathetic and that he should get up. Sachin asks him how long he was unconscious, and he tells him that if it was him, he would try to hurry because the registration for courses has ended. He tells him that there are only 5 minutes left, but there are no USB available. He tells him that it is a shame and that he could try for next year, although it is likely that there are not many Cinderellas left by that time. Sachin tells him that someone attacked him and stole his flash drive, and then he passed out from the poisonous sting. He asks him if that doesn't count as foul play. Junjai turns around and tells him that he must have hit himself too hard to say that kind of bullshit. He asks him what they intend for him to do. Sarcastically, he asks him if he thinks they should make an exception and let him redo the enrollment since he was so special. Sachin tries to tell him something, but the man interrupts him by telling him that strength is the only way to excel in that school. So if he wanted something, he should go and fight for it. He also tells him that the teachers supervise everything that happens, which means that they have prevented any kind of real danger, and that nothing was that serious anyway. Junjai explains to him that jungle juice turns humans into living weapons. It's all about pincers, poison, Horns, sharp claws, every kind of weapon you can imagine. Kids walk around that campus armed to the teeth every day. He asks Sachin if he really thought they were going to be taught to sit around reading books all day. Tells Sachin that if that was the environment he expected, it was preferable for him to head to the civilian shelter at the nest, as he will be safe there for the rest of his life as a bug human. Throws the bag he was eating his candy out of and tells him to get rid of it for him on his way down if he has nothing better to do. The man, after telling him that they should take care of the planet and recycle, leaves. Sachin thinks about how he couldn't even enroll in a course and wonders what would have happened if he had let the B-boy die from the fall. He wonders if he could have enrolled and is annoyed by what he found himself thinking. Sachin starts swearing at himself and his anger grows. He raises his arm to throw the bag on the ground and avoids it when the man tells him not to forget to recycle. He calms down, and when he grabs the bag with his other hand, he touches something in the bag. When he opens it, he sees a flash drive and remembers that the teacher told him there were 5 minutes left. Somewhere in the forest, Professor Ma asks Professor Jin why his sudden change of mind, as he did not expect him to hand over a USB so easily, and especially to a new student. He tells him that he thought he did not like Sachin and asks him if there was any other reason that made him change his mind. Professor Jin remembers seeing Sachin saving the B-boy and replies to Professor Ma that if you want something well done, you must do it yourself. He comments that someone should make that boy see reason, and that it could be. As he flies, Sachin thinks that there is not much time left and that if he continues at that speed he won't be able to make it. But he doesn't want to mess up his landing like before, and if he flies faster his eyes will burn too much. He slows down when he remembers his glasses and takes them out to put them on, as that will prevent seeing and dust from entering his eyes. Some guys are talking about why people are trying so hard in the forest when you can wait by the campus and get a USB with no effort. They see how someone arrives and they set out to catch him. But since Sachin flies super fast, they don't even get a good look at him. One of them says to go to the lab to take it away, but a guy shows up and says that it's against the rules. He hits the one who gave the idea and tells him that fighting in buildings is strictly forbidden. The guy was the one Hyuji had separated from the Scorpio girl. His name was Hyaseong Chan, and he was a first-year student of practical entomology. Next to him was the Scorpio girl, who supports the boy's comment. Her name was Do-chan and she was his classmate. Behind them was Hyuji, who had received a message from Professor Jai when she finished her enrollment process saying that if she had nothing better to do than to take care of the boy in the exchange. That message was a lot for a man like Professor Jin, which meant that Sachin had done something good. Sachin rushes into the lab and inserts the flash drive into the laptop. Puts in his data at full speed and a notification pops up telling him that his course registration was complete. He had registered for the Practical Insect Combat course. Another notification pops up saying that registrations were closed, and he thinks that although it is not Professor Ma's course, at least he is on to something. He thinks that maybe if he tries hard he can become an honors student. He comes out of his thoughts when a notification pops up. The notification was a notice that the orientation would begin immediately in classroom No. 5. When he tries to go to the classroom, some guards pull him out of the building and tell him that public access to that building is restricted. Only students and teachers of the nest can pass. Sachin tells them that he is a student and they tell him that he must show his student card to enter. He thinks that nobody gave him a card and Hyuji arrives with one with his face on it. She tells him that they had just issued it. They are let into the building, and as they walk he asks her if she will also take that course. She tells him about some of the leaves she had in her hair, and he replies that he liked that class very much, although he comments that Professor Ma's theory class could be more to someone like him. Hyujin tells her that being an honors student is not an easy thing, but that she should not be discouraged, because taking a difficult course does not mean that she will not have the best grades. He replies that she should not worry because she will not give up so easily, and she tells him that she recognizes that he has guts. They arrive at the classroom, and when Sachin enters he hears someone say that he is the guy from the movie theater incident. He hears someone say that he is the one from the Medub videos and that he was cute. He hears someone say with laughter that he feels like he is in the presence of a celebration, and more laughter ensues. Sachin starts to feel uncomfortable and wonders how come everyone there knows. He comes out of his nervousness when he hears how someone knocks on the table and asks him how he was able to spread his wings in front of everyone. He asks him what he was thinking, and Sachin realizes it's the guy who was hitting on the scorpion girl. It was Hyaseong. Hyaseong tells him that the whole thing was a mess that lasted a month. Forums were flooded and media coverage was manipulated. Not to mention that they should have gotten the police to lose track of him. The boy tells him that it was hard for the president and him to deal with everything that spreading their wings had caused. After saying that, Sachin remembers when Hyujin told him on the bus that they had erased all the evidence and realizes that it is because of them that all the evidence disappeared like it was nothing. Hyojin hits his friend with a notebook and asks him why he yells at her. She tells him not to listen to her because they know he was just trying to save a girl. She tells him that everyone there knew that, and if she had been in that situation she would have made the same decision as he did. So he should not be demanding with himself because he had done the right thing. Sachin thinks about how she tries to cheer him up despite all the trouble she must have caused him. She comes over and tells him she has to run an errand for the teacher, so she'll be out of there for a moment. A boy in the back asks who is keeping score, and Hyojin's friend says she is only taking his side because he is new, so that doesn't count. He turns around and the boy smashes his head against the table so hard that a pool of blood is made on the table. That boy is tall and muscular in a very rough way. He has his hair red with black and looks like a thug. He comments that it is good to be back with all his classmates and leaves such an open mouth for the action he had done. The boy says he was going to wait for everyone to arrive, but he was sick of sitting in chairs. Maybe that was why he had left school in the first place. The boy says he requires a favor from all of them, and in that some boys come in with some bats. He tells them that this year he plans to be the honor student as he really needed to have the Cinderella mix. He approaches a girl and a boy and tells them that they should worry about how they are going to help him. He tells them that they should give him all their student meets for the rest of the semesters, as he will be the only one to go to that class as the building cannot be entered without a card. The group of the boy's friends start to scare the students who were present and take their IDs. After seeing that, Sachin gets upset and tells him that he can't do that. He tells him that he won't put his dirty hands on his student ID, and a boy hits him in the face with his bat. Sachin wakes up lying on a bed with a bandage on his forehead. He asks where, and Hyojin tells him at the health center. She tells them that she was the one who took them there because she found them passed out and bleeding when she came back to the classroom. Sachin asks for his student card and realizes that the boy took it. She tells him that he shouldn't worry because they can get a new one, and she tells him she will go out and get him his replacement card. She tells him it won't take long, but he should stay there and get some rest. Sachin thanks her and thinks to herself that because she is so calm, that must be why she is the class president. He thinks about how Mihui was always kind and nice to everyone. But he comes out of his thoughts when he turns and sees the boy who had suffered the table bump. He has a bandage on his forehead and nose. He asks him what had happened, and Sachin tells him. The boy is alarmed when he hears that they took the ID cards, and Sachin calms him down by telling him that the class president had gone to get new ones. He tells him that he is a fool for letting her go. The boy tells Sachin that the man who took the cards only needs the best in class, then he wouldn't have to take everyone's. That man should only beat those who are likely to become honors students, and tells her that besides in one day they can't get all those meets back in, and they proceed to wonder where she got to. Hyojin went after the troubled group in search of the cards. Out of politeness, she asks her leader if he won't give her the cards, and he says no. The leader tells her that everything is going according to his plan because he had never needed those cards, but he knew that she would go to get them. She was right where he planned, and that was what he got for getting the first place in practical combat last semester. A boy from the group tries to attack her, but she is faster and smashes his head against the grass. The rest of the group goes against her, but Hyojin manages to defend himself. The leader tells them that they are idiots because there is no way to beat her on the ground. The leader asks Hyojin what would happen if he throws all those cards into the water, and she runs to avoid him. At that, the leader turns into a giant aquatic insect, which is the most powerful predator among aquatic insects, attacks Hyojin and submerges her against the lake, tries to drown her, and tells her that being an honors student would be a piece of cake if not for her. Tells her that he cannot kill her on campus because that would generate suspicion, but no one could suspect him if she drowns. His group starts laughing at the situation, and out of nowhere something fast hits the leader. Hyojin manages to get out of something and breathe. Everyone turns to see what took the leader, and it is Sachin. He tells him that he does want to be an honors student but first he had to learn to act like a human being. One member of the group asks who the dragonfly is supposed to be, and someone replies that it is the flying insect of the class. The leader tells him that he can't believe that the boy is still breathing after the hit he was given, and tries to hit him again. But Sachin moves away. He can predict his movements again. He realizes that he is not that fast and that he can against him. Hyojin yells at Sachin to move away, and the leader with one of his pincers tries to attack him from behind, but Sachin moves away from there after predicting what the man would do. He tells Hyojin that they would start with an impressive sequence, and she tells him not to be stupid as he was small compared to him. Plus, he shouldn't try to fight him there. Hyojin tells him that the leader worked with an aquatic insect, which means he has the water advantage. Therefore Sachin must be careful because if he makes a false move he would be dragged into the water, and they would finish him off. She tells him that they must get away from that lake as soon as possible, and the leader tells them that he still has the cards of all the students. Sachin tells him that they outnumber them with growing but they still want to fight in the water for the advantage. So he tells her to go back to school. And Hyojin tells her that it is not necessary for him to fight her. He tells her that he wants to fight her because last semester she was the top of the class. They tell her that maybe they will give the meats back if they get what they came for. He tells her that was their problem and he got in, so it is best that he is not there. Sachin tells him that she is the last one who should say that and asks him if he remembers what she told him when she took him to the university. She told him that he would no longer be alone, and that was what it was all about. He had not gone there alone and just appears behind some of the Hyeseong bad guys. He beats them up with his grasshopper legs. He was a species of grasshopper Techinidae, an orthopteran insect that hunts its prey using the spines of its powerful legs. The leader is shocked to see how fast Hyeseong recovered. He was next on their list after the president and comes out of his thoughts when he sees Sachin going after the IDs. He steps back, preventing him from taking them, and tells him if he thinks he can take them from him. He tells him that he knew he would try something like that and that false move was going to cost him dearly. He tries to attack him and Sachin asks him about who said it was a false move. He tells him that nothing counts yet as long as he doesn't catch him. The leader is stressed that Sachin is no longer flying one way and thinks maybe all that open space is giving him an advantage, but wonders how he can be so agile with such flimsy wings and wonders what kind of insect he is. The leader tells Sachin that he is a fool if he thinks he is going to let him take the carnets, but Sachin realizes that if he combines all the speed of the dragonfly and all the weight of the human body he can make big hits. He lands a punch in the leader's face that makes him upset because of the pain it causes him. Sachin realizes that the water helps him minimize the damage. The leader pretends to want to engage them in conversation. He asks them if they all want to be the honor student as much as he does and then asks them if it wouldn't be better if there was less competition. Hyuji tries to get out of the water and one of the group grabs her from behind, but she hits him and the leader tries to get close to kill her. But Sachin grabs him by some legs coming out of his back and pulls him out of the water, tells him that he is no longer in his territory and throws him against the ground, takes the cards and tells him that this is now his territory. Tells him that even if it is to get the Ashen mix he is doing it wrong, as there is no point in being a new human when there is no humanity in him at all. By the time Sachin, Hyojin and Hyeseong returned to the classroom, the orientation was over. They returned all the cards, but decided not to say it had been them, as Hyojin felt responsible and did not want to cause trouble. The boys did not want her to feel bad and decided not to say anything to each other. Sachin missed the orientation and could not be the hero of the cards, but at least he was reassured that there had been no roll call. He arrives at his new room and thinks that he used to live far away from his old college. He takes out a jacket from a box that all students must wear, and thinks that dorm life may not be bad. Someone places an arm on his man and he is startled but calms down when he hears Hyeseong's voice. He tells him that it was not bad at the lake, and although he is glad that the one who scared him was him, but on the other hand he wonders why his roommate is an intense person. Hyeseong asks him if he drinks a lot and Sachin replies that just like the rest. He thinks what's funny about two guys drinking alone together and comes out of his thoughts when the door opens with two girls. It's Hyuji with some bags and the Scorpio girl who has some beers. Hyuji tells him that he has a big room and apologizes for interrupting like this, but tells him that they were going to celebrate the beginning of the semester when Hyeseong told him that he was Sachin's classmate, so he should celebrate with them. Sachin thinks that since he came to that university, revealed his wings and got them, for the first time he felt good. Somewhere in the mountains near the nest, the leader who had stolen the carnets talks to a woman who has an ant head, a black dress and a lilac shawl. She tells him that she already knows that he has failed to kill the professor's best student, and tells him that there is no problem as his task was to cause commotion anyway. However, any creature that fails in his hunt will gradually die out. The boy tells her that next time he will get it right. He will be able to kill the girl and get the Cinderella. The woman tells him that they don't need the Cinderella anymore and jumps out of the tree to kill him. When the boy falls to the ground, she tells him that with all that strength he couldn't beat some useless first years, but he shouldn't worry because she was sure that the boss will be happy anyway because they had finally found what he wanted. The woman takes off her ant head for a moment, and it shows that her hair is turquoise. The next day in the practical entomology classroom, Sachin enters the classroom thinking that it is the first day of the mandatory course of practical combat for insects. He is nervous and wonders how the class will be. Next to him is Hyuji, who notices his nervousness to see his hands shaking and tells him that he should not worry because he had heard that they would only do a small test. She tells him that she will be there to help him with anything, and Suchin thanks her. He thinks that his friend is right and that he is stressing for no reason because it was the first day. The teacher enters the classroom saying that they will start with a simple test and that the results of the test will count towards their final grade. He pulls out a lock and tells them that they could die, so they should be careful. In the open training field, Suchin and his companions find themselves running from Professor Jai and his saw. He wonders what they are supposed to be doing and why their teacher wants to kill them. Hyuji tells him that practical combat is one of the basic courses in that specialty. Well, he teaches them to fight using their insect abilities, because it is up to them to fight predators like the praying mantis that had attacked him. The professor stops in front of Suchin's group and tells them that he explained all that yesterday at orientation, but they never showed up. He tells them that insect abilities are weapons and some insect humans use those abilities to commit crimes. The goal of the nest is to find all the insect humans out there and protect them, so everyone in that class must learn to fight. The professor looks at Suchin and tells him that as he told him once, only the strong will survive. If he wants to win the Cinderella, he will have to try harder. The teacher tells them that the first test will be a game of hide and seek. They must run away from him using their insect skills. Whoever is caught will fail the course and will not be able to be an honors student. The teacher tells them that the game starts and they all run to hide. Suchin thinks that they can force them to do that and how that teacher expected them to learn to fight while running away. He thinks that when he was attacked by the praying mantis, all he could do was to run away. Hyaseong dodges a cut with the saw and asks his teacher how he can be so fast. But this one gets closer and tries to cut him. Suchin spreads his wings and grabs his friend to avoid being cut. The professor is astonished to see that Suchin had just used the dragonfly's compound vision. He thinks that he must have been analyzing the chainsaw's movement. He thinks that for someone who had gone there to get rid of his wings, it seems that he is already used to his abilities. The professor makes a move to separate Suchin and Hyaseong so that each can hide. He succeeds and tells Suchin that he practically looks like a real dragonfly already. Suchin remembers when he went to see Mihui in the hospital and she told him he was a monster. The teacher realizes Suchin had a memory and yells at him that it was no time to daydream. He tells him that he is a fool and that he is going to fail. He tries to grab him, but Hyuji avoids him when he pushes Suchin. She falls on top of him. He tells her to react or else the teacher will catch him and fail the course. They both get up from the floor and Hyuji signals to Hyaseong. Hyaseong tells the professor that he should take a break and that he should relax with a nice mud bath. After saying that, he throws some mud with his legs to the professor, and the professor tells him that he should mind his manners. He tells him that he is a nasty boy and stops watching when one of them uses a smokescreen tactic. Hyaseong runs with his friends and asks Hyuji if the professor will never get tired. Hyuji tells him to shut up, otherwise he will reveal his position, and Suchin thinks that for now they should keep running away. In the Nest University, the Nest in the subway isolation sector, the ant woman walks through some corridors after leaving some men on the floor. She arrives to the door where the praying mantis man is and asks if he is still alive. He is tied to a stretcher and without a shirt. He has a belt on his neck that does not allow him to move his head if he does not stay fixed in one position. The woman sarcastically says poor thing and asks him how can they be so cruel to a living being. She tells him that she wants to get him out of the water as soon as she can, and she passes the student's ID card that she killed through a sensor which does not allow the door to open. After seeing that, the woman tells him that it seems that a student ID card does not allow to pass all the security measures. She tells the man that he shouldn't worry because she had gone prepared, and the B-boy appears with a security pass from the professor's office. The boy tells her that it was easy to get because they were still in class. She tells him that he is a sweet boy and that she can't believe that this miserable university would bend a capable young man like him to take a sabbatical. The woman hugs the boy and he asks her why she stole a security pass from the professor. He thinks he doesn't even know that lady and wonders how he got there. She tells him not to worry about those things and passes the card the young man stole through the sensor. He accepts the card and the door opens, releasing the mantis man. She asks him to say hello to his friend. The man asks him if they were both human insects because they smelled tasty, and the B-boy gets scared when he notices the man's huge fangs. The woman gets excited and exclaims that he talked like a real insect besides being exactly as the boss had described him. She pushes the B-boy and tells him to take it because it is a little present from her. She tells him to enjoy it, and the mantis man begins to transform into a real monster and starts to eat the boy. The woman stands there watching him and says that it is fascinating, because even like insects, the blood in his veins is still red. Back at the training ground, Sachin complains that he has been running away for an hour since the middle of the class. He tells his friends what kind of stupid test that was and puts his hands on his knees to get some air. Unlike his friends who looked calm, Sachin was sweating profusely. Hyuji tells them that they had finally left the teacher behind, and Hyacinth stretches, saying that everything hurts. He tells them that it looks like the professor caught most of them while they were running away, and Sachin asks him if they would all fail the course. Hyuji tells him that it was likely since Professor Jai was a man of his word, and Sachin thinks that it looked more like a military training camp than a university. He thinks that he had a bad feeling about it at the beginning, that something was wrong with that professor. Sachin thinks about what would have happened if she hadn't lost her place in Professor Ma's course, and Hyuji tells her that the class would be over in an hour, so she just had to hold on. Sachin asks Hyuji if that teacher really tries to fail everyone, and she tells him that's how he teaches. Hyacinth tells them to shut up because the teacher was coming. They see two girls running, one with green hair and the other blonde. The blonde falls down and the teacher appears, asking her if she was okay, because it looked like she had sprained her ankle. The green-haired girl goes after her friend and tries to tell the professor that she had hurt herself, but he interrupts her and tells her that she must keep moving. Whether she sprains her ankle or cuts her leg, it's run or die. A harsh reality. He asks the girls what they expect and tells them that he told them that they will die. He raises his saw, and when he tries to cut them, Sachin appears to prevent it. The teacher asks him what he thought he was doing, and Sachin tells him that he should stop because that was being exaggerated for the first day of school. Hyacinth and Hyuji observe the situation, and Hyuji asks her friend what the boy was supposed to be doing. Sachin asks the teacher if he doesn't think he is taking it too far, and he replies that if it was a real combat situation they would have been dead long ago. The professor asks Sachin if he thinks that dangerous predators like the praying mantises he encountered would stop for a speech. The professor tells him that he clearly stated that they would fail if he encountered them. He tells him that he has guts and that there was now an hour left. The teacher proposes a deal to Sachin. He tells him that if he managed to hit him just once before the end of the class, he will not fail the two girls or any of his classmates. But if he fails to hit him just once, he and his two friends hiding in the bushes will be expelled. The Mantis man and the ant woman meet near the entertainment campus as the man had recognized Sachin's scent. He decides to go after him, ignoring that the ant girl tells him that the boss doesn't like delays. Before starting with the deal, the professor tells him that this is no time to worry about others and that he still has a long way to go. He tells him that he has an ability and he has to really understand it. He tells him that he knows that he had gone there to get rid of his dragonfly abilities, but without those powers he will never survive.